In the first part of this module, we discussed ways to create an inclusive and reciprocal mentorship relationship. In this lesson, we focus on addressing and mitigating accessibility barriers that hinder a person's participation and progress, regardless of whether they are mentors or mentees. Addressing accessibility needs is relevant for everyone in a research group, but it's especially important for field teams. Every person, mentee, mentor, field team member, has needs, and making space regularly for sharing needs will create an inclusive and positive field culture. Accessibility needs are different for everyone and can arise from many sources. These might include formal disabilities or religious practices, which need to be accommodated by law, or non-legally protected accessibility needs that should still be accommodated. Some accessibility needs are permanent, like someone may be hard of hearing and needs others to speak up. Someone with an anxiety disorder may need advance notice of changes and flexibility on deadlines. Someone may need to eat at regular intervals in between scheduled meals. Something that is not considered a disability but should still be accommodated is, for example, a non-native speaker who may require others to slow down the pace of conversation, or for field situations, accommodating meals for dietary restrictions. Other accessibility needs may be temporary. For example, in a field situation, somebody may need to take time away from sampling because the generator fumes cause headaches, or someone may need to pass on sampling for the day if they have a bad blister. People who need accommodation may feel hesitant to reach out to their mentor or field team leader for help, especially those with disabilities. Disabled people, the term Identity First advocates use to center the disability as part of one's identity, may have experienced stigma or judgment in other environments. Individuals may also struggle to identify the specific accommodation they need to succeed if they don't know the setting. That is, of course, especially true for fieldwork. And mentors can play a vital role in bridging this gap. Even if not experts themselves, they can point their mentees towards resources that could help support them, and they can advocate for mentees to receive the support or accommodation they need to reach their full potential. For field situations, that may mean raising accessibility needs with the senior field team leaders, or simply painting the details of the field situation to plan for accommodations. At the same time, it's also important to discuss what are reasonable accommodations and what situations may pose a security risk for the field team. Most research institutions have access to trained professionals who can provide support with these questions and conversations. If a mentor does not ask about accessibility needs, a mentee can, if they feel comfortable, initiate a conversation about their needs. While opening up the conversation about accessibility needs is important in any mentor-mentee relationship, the unique challenges posed by fieldwork make it particularly important to learn about those needs. A mentor can model vulnerability by sharing about their own needs. For example, they can share about being prone to high altitude sickness as they embark on an alpine sampling campaign and their need to take a couple of extra days to acclimatize. Or they can share accessibility needs such as taking field notes through voice memos because of severe dyslexia. It is important to remember that everyone's experience with disability or need for accommodation is unique. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to accommodation to supporting people with the same disability. Following guidance from the disabled person themselves ensures that their individual needs are met. Here are some strategies to create the space for a person to share their accessibility needs. Open communication. Encourage open and honest communication about needs, accommodations, disabilities, and understand that the needs of others are different from your own. Check in regularly if needs are being met or have changed. Active listening. Listen actively to the other person's concern. We'll expand on this particular skill in more detail later in this module. Flexibility. Be flexible and adaptable in your planning so that you can accommodate changes in the team's accessibility needs. For example, reflect on how many people are required for the fieldwork. If 2 are required, the field team should have at least 3 or 4 members to provide flexibility. Advocacy. Advocate for others' needs within the field team or research group. Ideally, initiate planning ahead of a field season with the field team leads so that a person with accessibility needs does not encounter insurmountable real-time barriers in the field. However, remember to ask for the mentee's consent to share their disability or accommodation needs and operate under a need-to-know policy when sharing information. Collaboration. Collaborate with disability services through your institution, the research station, or the lab to ensure accommodation needs are met both during fieldwork and outside of it. While it is critical to accommodate specific needs in fieldwork situations and mentorship relationships, developing a research environment within or outside of field situations that takes into account best practices around general human needs, often referred to as universal design, will set up the entire team for success. Although not a requirement, it's a fundamental condition of good design for a team environment. Universally designed environments can be accessible, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people, regardless of age, size, ability, or disability. So while universal design is needed by some, it's useful for everyone. Applying universal design principles to a mentoring relationship means considering, for example, varying learning styles and communication preferences. It would entail, for example, offering multiple modes of communication, such as email or Slack, allowing mentors and mentees to choose the method that best suits their ability. Or in a field situation, it would entail limiting daily work hours and providing sufficient time for rest and bathroom breaks and regular meals. These conditions will allow every team member to thrive. In this lesson, we focus on navigating accessibility barriers, which is especially important for field teams. We emphasize the wide array of accessibility needs, covering permanent and temporary requirements from disability to dietary restrictions. The lesson stresses the importance of open communication, active listening, flexibility, advocacy, and collaboration to create an inclusive environment. By regularly making space for sharing needs within the field team, we support an inclusive and positive culture. We further suggest integrating universal design principles to support various learning styles and preferences, fostering an environment where every team member can thrive. In the next lesson, we'll explore different strategies and approaches.